Super Rugby 2018 season preview for the Jaguares from Argentina. Comparatively, a team which has been pretty stable. Not a whole lot of comings and goings in terms of Jaguares players, but like most of the other teams, it seems to be, they have had a change at the top. So Perez is gone, and Mario Ledesma has been appointed the head coach. Of course, he was helping the Wallabies with their forwards coaching with Cheika the last couple of years. He's a pretty well-respected guy. He speaks well. He seems like a natural leader. So he is one that I am very keen to see improve what has been so far a pretty poor addition to Super Rugby. When the Sunwolves and the Jaguares came along, there was a lot of excitement about what these guys could do, being a largely international team, and a lot of kind of derision about what the Sunwolves would do. But neither of them's done really anything so far. In terms of expectations, the Sunwolves have had the odd win, which has always been a surprise, but the Jaguares have generally disappointed pretty badly. So, yeah, we will see if Ledesma is able to get a bit of a shift in results, in performances, in attitudes. I'm really hoping so, because there is some talent here to work with. But we'll have a look at the squad. A few guys who have gone, the notable ones, Nogueira and Herrera, the two props, and Correro, one of the more exciting backs in the team. Other than that, a lot of the changes have been pretty token. And this squad that he's named is a comparatively small one compared to some of the other ones. I'm looking at you, Sharks. Yeah, this is just his touring squad because they're starting their campaign in South Africa. So there are some players who are remaining in Argentina who haven't been named in the squad as yet, but they're kind of in a wider training group. So in the front row, Creevy, I actually forgot to check the spelling of his name. I just did that one off the top of my head. Montoya, Pietro, Chaparro, Aragui, and Bota. So only two hookers and two props on each side. Creevy, he's lost his captaincy for the year. There has been a bit of criticism of him for doing kind of too much. He was playing too many minutes, trying to do everything himself. I mean, he was one of the top try scorers, equal top try scorers for the team. So he obviously was doing things well, but maybe just, I don't want to call it selfish, but at least not trying to trust in his teammates to kind of help him out. And Montoya, who's a very capable backup, should be getting more minutes than what he has been. So that will be a shift. They've told Creevy to kind of focus on his own game this season rather than worrying about being captain. So that's an interesting one. The props, I mean, kind of Pietro, when you see him, he seems a bit lazy. His work rate's not that high. Chaparro, on the other hand, is a bit of a tackling machine for a prop. Aragui, he's got a higher work rate than Pietro, I would say, for sure. And Bota, he's been pretty average. So for an Argentinian team, you would have thought that their front row was going to be one of their main weapons, but so far we haven't seen it. Locks and loose forwards, so Alemano, Lavanini, Petit, Crema, Leguizamo, Lezana, Matera, Decio, Makome, and Senatore. So some names here which are more familiar than others. The first guy, I don't think he played that much last season, but Lavanini is the guy everybody loves to hate. He's a big guy. He's got a real bad reputation for dirty play. He's probably a guy that they could use, because the guys that they used mainly last season, which was Petit and Kramer, they're both like 1.94 m, so like 6'4". It's not really that big for locks. I mean, their lineout works fine, but you still want that one kind of Etzebeth or Retallick kind of big, hulking, intimidating player in your second row. So Lavanini's got the size, but he hasn't got the self-discipline, I guess. Who else was there? Alemano. He's kind of a better work rate player, more of a defensive minded player. Kramer is also a loose forward, I should have mentioned as well. So interesting to see what Ledesma decides to do with the squad. Because, there were definitely some underperforming players in those, in that type 5 last season. Like I said, Argentinian rugby should be about the type 5, and it really hasn't been with the Jaguares. Leguizamon is a name that most people will probably know. He's another one of your tackling machines who kind of goes all day. He is 34, so interesting with the pace of Super Rugby to see how many minutes he gets. Lozana is the vice captain for this year with Creevy having lost the captaincy, but Pablo Matera is the new captain, and he's good. I mean, he's still in his kind of early mid-20s. He's got a very high work rate, high energy player, runs with the ball quite a lot. So I think he's a good choice for captain. He's a guy who'll lead, but not, not try to take the limelight. Not that I think Creevy was trying to take the limelight. I think he was just trying to do too much. So I think Matera will hopefully kind of spread the load a bit more because he's got 2 vice captains in the team this season. Senatore is another pretty familiar name. He's that workhorse style number 8 who, does everything pretty well that a number 8 should. Not like a Kieran Reid style with the fancy offloads and whatnot, but definitely going to get a lot of minutes. And Makome's kind of a similar style player, but just doesn't get as many minutes because Senatore is the main guy. In the backs, Landajo, Cabelli, Ezcura, Bertrano, Sanchez, Hernandez, and Bonilla. So Landajo was their main and most effective 9 last season, but Cabelli has come back from the Brumbies. So it would feel like these 2 guys are going to be fighting it out for the starting spot, whereas the other 2 guys both played last season and looked pretty average. So I would imagine they will be 3rd and 4th choice. Sanchez was first choice 10, and I think he performed better. Bonilla looked pretty shocking in the games that I saw him. Hernandez is kind of the mature head who a lot of people will know, but again, didn't have the same level of performance that Sanchez was having. Sanchez's main problem was his boot was a bit on the ordinary side. Midfield and outside back, so Alvarez, De La Fuente, Iglesias, Orlando, another Ezcura, Moroni, Cancellieri, Moyano, Boffelli, and Tucalet. Tucalet's the vice captain, so he'll be leading the team from the back. And the most impressive name, when you look at these guys, I think De La Fuente is definitely one of them. He was another player who, just the energy, I mean, he was in everything. His work rate's just massive, and that's really what you want to see when you haven't got a team which has got the naturally most gifted players. You don't look at any of these guys and see like a Falau. There's no like a Damien McKenzie. There's not like an Ebenezer Beth style Malcolm Marks, just super player that would kind of make anyone's team. Like Tucalet is a very capable fullback, but he's no Falau. So that work rate is important. The other guy I thought from last season was Moyano. He was in and out of the team, surprisingly, but when he played, I think he played against the Cheetahs and the Reds, he looked really good. I don't know why they didn't kind of have him playing every week. He is one of those players that is kind of exciting to watch. A lot of the other guys were pretty ordinary in a pretty ordinary team last season. Iglesias, ordinary. Akura, he's actually an X7s player. He's kind of the offload guy, which is a hallmark of the team itself. They did have a lot of offloads last season. His hands didn't always match what his mind wanted to do, but he was at least trying it. He was trying to get that kind of exciting play. Cancellieri is actually a new player to the team, but he has played for Argentina before, so he should be of a decent quality. Moroni was a bit like Manila. He was pretty average last season. Didn't see a whole lot when he was on the pitch. So overall, I mean, like I said, there's no. Oh, I should mention Alvarez is also an uncapped Super Rugby player. Used to play sevens, but there's no real superstar players on the team. Creevy would be the closest, but again, he's not Malcolm Marks or Dane Coles, is he? So talent, but it needs to be applied in the right way that's going to get the results for the team. So it's not about building around that superstar player to capitalize on that X factor kind of performance. It's really going to have to be teamwork, and that's what the new coach is going to have to do when he settles things in. Tactics wise, they like their rolling mauls. And Mario Ledesma being a former forwards coach, I doubt he's going to change that. They did try and get, like ever since Graham Henry went over to be assistant coach with Argentina, you could feel that Argentina has been trying to shift over to a more attacking style game, but they're not there. And they're kind of getting a blend of it with traditional Argentinian heavy hitting forward values with that offload game, but they haven't quite found their mark yet. So there's room for them to move it, and if they can just get that sweet spot, I think their performances will improve. But discipline, oh my God. They've got a really bad reputation over these 2 seasons with just yellow cards and penalties. They weren't actually the worst last year, surprisingly enough. They were second on yellow cards and second on penalties. But yeah, that's still a silver medal on poor discipline. So they really need to cut that out because they've already got that reputation as well. So refs are going to be harder on them. They're more likely to get those yellow cards because the refs are looking for it. So they need to try and clean up their act. It's you can't win a game when you've got 13 guys. So it's just silly. Like I said, with the goal kicking, they were pretty poor last season, averaging I think 69%, and Sanchez was at 64. So although he's their best 10, 64% is really bad. So, and they are a team that takes quite a few kicks at goals, and it's kind of the chicken and egg thing. Are they so low on their kicking stats because they're taking so many shots at goal? I don't know, but either way, you've got to be kicking it higher than 64%. And the set piece, I mentioned a bit about the Type 5 before. Set piece has been bad. Like, their scrum's not been good. The line-out's just been average, and these are things that you need to get right when you're working with the tools you've got here. And like I say with Mario Ledesma, that's going to have to be, I think, the first thing that he looks at. I mean, he was doing set-piece coaching, so he needs to get that right really quickly because it's such a crucial part of the game. Strength of schedule, they've got the 6th hardest schedule on for and against from last season, so kind of a middling run. They avoid the Highlanders and the Sunwolves, so I suppose avoiding the extra trip to Japan and to the far south of New Zealand is probably decent. In terms of picking Australian teams, I suppose you'd maybe rather be avoiding someone else instead of the Sunwolves, but it's that balance with the travel. So, and also with playing the Sunwolves, like last season they had a funny thing where it was the Sunwolves playing the Jaguares in Argentina. So neither of the teams are English-speaking teams that have like a commentary crew that would follow them round. So it was the Aussie commentators doing it, and it just felt weird because they weren't really invested in the game, watching a Japanese team play an Argentinian team like Greg Martin and somebody else, and it was just funny. And they had a weird moment at the end of the game with one of the guys, because the Jaguares were up by a few points at full time, and someone in the crowd let off a hooter with like 30 seconds to go, and the ref was like, "All right, that's it, we're off." But it wasn't the official hooter, and he had to, after they were shaking hands, called him back. Anyway, getting distracted. It was hilarious, but still. So their schedule starts away in South Africa to the Stormers and then to the Lions. Back to South America to play the Hurricanes, the Waratahs, the Reds, and the Lions again. And then they have the bye. So they do get a bit of travel out of the way at the start, and then a 4-game home stint, and then they go on the bye. Then they go the Crusaders at home, 4 games away. So they do a tour of Australia and New Zealand, and then a bye. And they finish the competition with away games. So I was concerned with their season just with the travel, being the only team in South America. You don't have that, you can just get on a plane and take a 1-hour flight to Dunedin, or from Melbourne to Sydney, Pretoria to Johannesburg kind of thing. But they've kind of bookended the away games, so they've got a few at the start, a few at the end, and a stint in the middle. So it's not too much back and forth. So I'm hoping it won't be too much of a factor for them. Expectations. Playoffs, I think, has to be it. I mean, in their first season, people were talking about them as a potential contender for the title, and they didn't get anywhere near it. So, yeah, they've been a disappointing team so far, and I think playoffs will be the target. If they get close, then maybe you give him a pass in his first year. If he makes playoffs, you do give him a definite pass. And if it's more of the same, I think everyone will be pretty universally disappointed with the kind of waste of some talented players. Hopefully I get a bit of a chance to watch them more this year. Them being in the South African conference that didn't play any Kiwi teams last year, ended up missing out on a bit, but that'll all change this year. So we'll see how they go. Like I say, hopefully better than last year. All right, well that is it for the Jaguares and for me for tonight. And I'll catch you guys for the next one.